Welcome back to the channel, my brothers, or welcome to the channel if this is your first time. My name's Andy R, and this is the Brotherhood of Men, and today I want to talk to you, my brothers out there, about a very, very important subject, and that is the toxic outcome of single mothers, and it is toxic to all concerned. So let's get into the video. So yes, the title of today's video is Single Mothers Toxic Outcome, or the toxic outcome of single mothers, whichever way you prefer to word it. And as I said in the intro, it is a toxic outcome for all concerned. At first, you have to look at the single mother herself. She gets a toxic outcome for being a single mother. Then you have to look at the children or child of that single mother and the outcome for those. And again, it is a toxic outcome. And then thirdly, you have to look at society as a general, the wider population, and how they have to deal with single mothers. And again, the outcome is toxic. So why do I say all concerned get a toxic outcome? Okay, let's look at the categories. Now, before I do look at the categories, let me just say a caveat here. Let me just give out a little olive branch. There's one category of single mothers that I have said in many videos I have the most sympathy for, I have the most empathy for, I feel the sorriest for, and that is widows, because they never asked to be a single mother. Or, like the other two categories, they became single mothers through their own choice. But with widows, obviously, the choice was taken out of their hands, and I have the most sympathy for widows. Having said that, though, I still advise that you do not get with single mothers, even widows, because you're still facing the same problems. You're still facing the issues of raising another man's child. And historically, we men, have been programmed to be disgusted by other men's children. And that's a strong word, disgusted, but it's actually true. We love our own children. There's the old joke about for men, kids are like farts. We love our own, but we hate everybody else's. And that is very, very true. We are quite literally disgusted by other men's children. We don't love them. They're not ours, and we don't want to expend any of our resources, time, money, effort in raising another man's child. And it's true that a widow with children is still a single mother. It's still somebody else's progeny, and we don't want to take it on. So although I have the most sympathy for widows, they are still single mothers, and a lot of the outcomes I'm talking about today still apply to them. But I do have the most sympathy for them. And society in general does tend to hold widows to their breast. They do tend to protect them more, because a widow did the right thing. Her game plan was the right game plan. She got married first. Then she had children with the man she loved enough to get married and have children with. And then her husband was taken away from her because of whatever circumstances, but he was taken away from her. She was left a widow. She was left in a position she didn't choose. So that's the caveat I'll put out there. Now, let's get into as I said at the beginning of this video, single mothers themselves have the toxic outcome. 30% of all of those living in poverty are single mothers. Now, that's a startling statistic when you look at the fact that I didn't say 30% of single mothers live in poverty. I said of all people living in poverty, 30% of them are single mothers. Now, I'm talking about the Western society. That is a very startling fact. It shows just the bad outcome a woman has by becoming a single mother. It shows that women are actually quite poor with finances. It shows that they have made poor decisions in their life in becoming single mothers, whether she's a baby mama or whether she's divorced. In both of those situations, she has wrecked her own life. So she's created the problems she now faces. If she left a marriage because she was unhappy or whatever reason, most people don't talk about this simple fact of relationships that are less than stellar, shall we say, that she's getting roughed up and she walks away from that. Now, most people don't talk about those relationships because the truth of the matter is that the woman stayed in that relationship. She chose that man who was doing that to her. Again, poor choices. But in most situations, generally speaking, women actually wreck their marriages because they're unhappy in their relationship, and that's it. That's the main reason that women give for wrecking their marriages. I was unhappy. Women are constantly forgiving themselves their poor decisions. So she finds herself in a situation where she is now living in poverty. 30% of single mothers live in poverty. So that is detrimental to her, and is also detrimental to any children she has because they're being raised in poverty. Now we look at statistics and we look at facts. Because we're rational men, aren't we? We accept facts and statistics. Women rarely do. So let's look at some facts and statistics, because if I'm making such a bold statement as the toxic outcome for single mothers, and I'm talking about how it affects society in general, and I'm talking about how it affects the single mother, how it affects the children, to make such a bold, outlandish almost sounding statement, I should at least have something to back that up. And I do. You see, we have a lot of information about this subject for the simple reason that socio-economic professors and studies have been done over the decades to see how society is doing generally and what is having an adverse effect on society. So single mothers, for a start, 30%, I started with 30% of those living in poverty are single mothers. That's of all people living in poverty. So that one is a startling statistic. That shows that a lot of single mothers are living on the breadline, quite literally. And they are mothers, so they have children who are being brought up in poverty. Now we look at the outcome for the children. Now, the children themselves are getting a terrible outcome for the bad decisions of their mother. Now, the reason I say their mother, most of the statistics that I can find say single parent household. But when you look at the facts that 80% of divorces are instigated by women, 90% if they're university or college educated, and you see that 90% of custody is awarded to a woman, when it says single parent household, you can pretty much guarantee that means a single mother household. So these statistics are from that. So we look at the outcomes of the best outcome, and the best results for a child are from a two-parent household, mother-father. Biological mother, biological father. Because we also have statistics showing step fathers, mothers in relationships and how that affects a child. And we know that the very best outcome by all metrics is a two-parent mother-father household. So we can see that children that grow up in a mother-father household, one, are healthier. Two, are less likely to fall into delinquent behaviour. 3, are less likely to have mental health issues. 4, are more likely to go on to further education and therefore better jobs. And 5, are less likely to have problems with illegal substances. And also are less likely to suffer from mental health issues. So in all of the metrics, pretty much everything that you can look at, you pick a category. Those that come from a mother-father, biological mother-father household together, raising that child, have the best outcome. Now, just below that, you find those who are brought up in a two-parent household, but one of them is not the biological mother or father. Usually it's the biological father. And you find that they have drastically worse outcomes than the two biological parents. In fact, they are more likely to find themselves in trouble with the juvenile courts. They're more likely to be delinquents at school, less likely to go on to further education, more likely to have mental health issues, more likely to have problems with substances that they shouldn't be dabbling with. Again, all are a lot worse outcome than the two biological parents raising their child. And then below that, you tend to find the single mother household has the worst outcome in those three categories. Now, there is one category below single mothers who have an even more terrible toxic outcome, and those are the children who are raised by the state. Those who are in the state system. The very state system that comes and takes the children away from single mothers or from families to give them a worst outcome. The very same states, the very same countries that are passing laws to make and perpetuate single mother households. They do not have a child's best interest at heart. They are just interested in power. They are more interested in control. So they have the worst outcome, but single mothers are only just above that. They are finding that in the single mother household, a child is far less likely to go on to university, almost a quarter as likely as those that come from a biological both parents raising them. They are more likely to be involved with the police and the court system, both on a juvenile level and on an adult level. And I'll go into that in a minute because those statistics are scary. They are more likely to be truant and more likely to be disruptive in education. They're the ones kicking off in school and causing issues and problems for all the other children who are not being a problem. They come from single mother households. And the final kick in the teeth is that single mothers are raising the very future men that they despise now. They are raising the simps of the future and they are raising the bad boys of the future. Both categories that most single mothers do not like. Yes, they like a bad boy for a bit and then find out that he's actually developmentally immature and isn't fit for a long-term relationship. He was fun and exciting while he was a bad boy, but that wears thin pretty quickly, and she starts to hate that type of man. Also, women do not find attractive the simps, the beta boys, the soy boys, but they're the very women, these single mothers, are the ones raising these simps, these boys, because they grow up confused as their role in that household. You see, when a boy grows up in a two-parent household, he sees the interaction between mother and father. Mummy and daddy kissing, mummy and daddy arguing, mummy and daddy cuddling, mummy and daddy a united front when telling him how he should behave. Mummy and daddy supply two different roles for that child. He sees how a mother acts and moves through the world, and he sees how a father acts and moves through the world. And if he's a young boy, he emulates his father. His father is Superman to him until he's about 7 or 8 years old, and then he realizes that his father has feet made of clay. He can make mistakes, but up to about that age, that father in a son's eyes is Superman. He is one step beyond godhood. He is a saint. He can't put a foot wrong. He is the sort of man he wants to be. And he sees his mother the same way. That's the kind of woman I want to meet one day. That's the beauty I hold up. That's the kind of relationship I want to achieve, how my parents have, how they interact with each other, the love he sees, and he sees how they deal with conflict. He sees how they are stronger through everything that happens with them, and that's what he wants to emulate. So he steps into his masculinity and he makes something of himself. A young boy in a single parent household does not see that interaction. All he sees is one side of the story. And he sees his mother still going out there, still trying to chase the Todger. He sees his mother talking to him and calling him, a child, the man of the house. Yet he has no authority of a man of the house. She keeps calling him her little man. She says, you're the man of this house. It doesn't matter any of these guys I bring home or these guys I go and see. You're my man. You're the man of my house. And he becomes super confused of what his role is in the relationship of that family unit of mother and son. Because is he the man of the house? Well, surely then he should be sleeping with her. And this brings to another startling statistic. 85% of men in prison for forcing themselves upon women against their wishes. You know exactly what I'm talking about, but I don't want to use the word because it's a flag word. But you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say that. 85% of those who have committed that crime come from single mother homes. Can you say mummy issues with me? Can you say Oedipus complex? Because that's what's going on. That was a man who grew up very, very confused in the single mother household. And this is why I say society in general has to put up with the toxic outcome of what single mothers are forcing upon the rest of the world. Let's look at the prison community. In the juvenile courts, 90% of those who go before a judge in the juvenile courts come from a single mother home. Yes, 90% of those going through the juvenile courts come from a single mother home. How much trouble did that child, male or female, cause in the community, in society in general, before they were finally caught and then taken before a court? This is what we all have to deal with because of the epidemic, and I'll use the word lightly. I don't use the word lightly, sorry. That we literally have an epidemic nowadays of single mother homes. And we're all having to put up with the outspill of the poor and toxic outcomes from these single mother homes. 70, depending on the crime and depending on the category, so crime being one, but in the United States you have federal crimes and you also have the standard crimes, so two different categories, but between 70 and 90% of adults in prison come from single mother homes. How much problems are those criminals, which they are criminals, causing because they came from a single mother home? If they grow up in poverty, they're constantly seeing riches around them and want them, and therefore cannot achieve them through their own hard work because of poor education, health, abuse of legal substances, etc. So go out and steal. And then it's the rest of society who has to put up with that. How much do they get away with before they are caught? How much chaos and trouble in society have they caused before somebody catches them? These are the things that we have to deal with because of single mother households. And it's no better for the girls either. All studies have shown that a girl benefits greatly from the input of both mother and father. As I said, the outcome, and this is not gender specific, the outcome is the best if it's two biological parents. So how much are women, the young girls, suffering because they grow up in a single parent household? Well, look at the example they're being given. First of all, it doesn't matter if the mother's telling the daughter, don't make the same mistakes I made. Make sure you get a ring on your finger before you get pregnant. Make sure you do. The statistics do not bail that out, because it's shown that a higher percentage, a higher proportion of young girls that come from a single mother household go on to become single mothers themselves. That is the example they have been shown all their life by their mother. That, hey, I'm doing okay. I'm struggling on by. And when I gave that statistic of 30% of all people living in poverty are single mothers, that statistic goes up a lot higher to almost 2/3, 60%, when you take into consideration the category just above living in poverty, which is the jams, just about managing. Those who are just about managing to pay the bills, put food on the table and keep a roof over their head, but are literally living paycheck to paycheck. So that goes up double those living in poverty. And this is a major issue, because women who are in that situation, who are single mothers, are constantly looking for a new edge to improve what they already are dealing with. So whether that's to get a man in their life, and being a stepfather is no joyous place to be. And when I showed you the statistics, when I told you the statistics, the second worst outcome was those who had a step, either father or mother, in the home. Because that creates rebellion with the child. He constantly is thinking, you're not my father. And it usually is a stepfather, not a stepmother, because 90% of custody is awarded to women. So most of them are single mothers, and therefore looking for a man's input, finances, etc. to elevate her status, elevate her life. So she's giving out as much as she can to catch a man. And what is that teaching that young boy? Well, like I say, 85% of those who've been convicted of that crime of forcing themselves against a woman's will upon them are from single mother homes. Like I said, a lot of issues created, a lot of mental health problems created in a young boy's mind when he sees what his mother's doing around him. And that's the only input he's getting into his life constantly, is just his mother. So when I say toxic outcome, I am not being hyperbolous. I am not exaggerating. I am not building something that isn't already there, clearly to be seen for everybody who looks up the stats, who looks up the statistics, who looks up the data. And this, as a society, we all have to deal with. One, our taxes are going towards supporting a single mother's lifestyle. Absolutely. Our money is going, whether that be, as they have in America, food stamps. Here we have benefits. Whether that's going towards housing, whether that's going towards anything that you can think of that a woman relies upon, a single mother relies upon from the state to supply her, we are all paying for. And we are paying in the sums of billions of pounds, dollars, euros, whatever your currency might be, per year, to support a woman who has clearly made very poor choices in her life. So we all have to suffer. And we all have to suffer from the toxic outcome the children get from that single mother home because of the behaviour of that child. As I said, 90% of those going through the juvenile court system are from single mothers. They are creating chaos and mischief in their communities, and all of that community has to put up with it before they're even caught. We see between 70 and 90% of those in the adult in the adult prisons come from single mother households. 85% of those who create federal crimes are from single mother homes. So all of the chaos, all of the mischief, all of the bad behaviour that is forced upon society because of the poor choices of a woman who decided to become a single mother, whether that was to be a baby mama, or whether that was to be a divorce statistic, or whether that was to be through widowhood. Either way, a woman has made those choices, except for widowhood, obviously, but I've covered that earlier, so we can gloss over me covering it again. But those who divorce, at 80% of divorce rates, 80% of divorces are instigated by women. That is a woman knowingly deciding to destroy her home life. And if she's took just one moment to see the poor outcome of single mothers, do you think she would carry on and do that? Yes, she would. Because when women have been asked about the poor outcome, they still say, oh, well, it's better for a child if the two parents who aren't getting on separate. No, it's not. Even the children themselves, when questioned in these things, their one wish was that their parents stayed together. Even if the parents were unhappy, this child still wanted to be in both of the parents' lives together. And yet women convince themselves selfishly that the best thing is if we get divorced, if we end this relationship, quite literally destroying their own stable lives, ruining their child's life futures because they were unhappy. So I've given you all of these stats, all these statistics. I've told you the toxic outcome of single mothers for themselves, for the community at large, and most importantly, for the children. The children have the worst outcome, except for those who are brought up in the care system run by the states. Which just goes to show you how little the states care about the future of the children. They're the ones who are passing these laws. They're the ones who are instigating all of these things to benefit single mothers. Do you honestly think they've got the best thoughts and outcome of single mothers at heart? Or for the children? Of course not. They want people reliant on the state because then they can control them. If they really cared about the outcome of the children, they would be passing laws to make, one, marriage damn more attractive to men than it is now, and women for that matter. They would be passing laws that make it very difficult for women to just walk away from marriages, instead of passing nonsense laws like no-fault divorces, when it's overwhelmingly women who file for divorces. Like I said, 80% of divorces are filed by women and 90% are filed if they're university/college educated. That shows that it's the women walking away from their relationships, not the men. And the men aren't walking away from their marriages. Women are. The women are ruining their marriages at an alarming rate. 50% of marriages end in divorce, and that figure is going up year in, year out. The marriage rate is plummeting. I honestly think it's ran its course because it's been made so toxic for men. So we end up with more and more and more single mothers, creating more and more toxic environments and chaos to society in general, to their children and to themselves. So what are the answers to this? Well, that's a very good question. And I'm going to be covering the answers to that in a later video, which you don't want to miss. Because it's all right pointing out all of these things. It's all right saying to you, my brothers, just some of the absolute terrible things that are going on in the dating world, that are going on, that are negative for men. But there are answers. And I've been doing all of these videos so far to build you up to what are the answers, to show you that there are some. And it's been proven time and time again that women no longer regulate themselves. Women no longer take accountability. Women dodge any responsibility for their actions. Women are constantly saying that it's men who've got to do better. Well, subconsciously they have been telling us the truth. It's time for men to take back the reins. And in a future video I'm going to be making, and it's going to be The Fight Back Starts Here. So, if you're not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button because you won't want to miss that video. Also, if you've enjoyed this video, if you've got something from it, if you've got some insight, if you know somebody who's going to enjoy it as well, share this video. Share it far and wide. Enjoy it with your friends. But give the video a like. The video likes and so do I. It helps the algorithm. But as I said, make comments. Tell me, do you want to see that video that I've already made? Do you want to see how we fight back? If so, make sure you're subscribed and with the bell notification on, and that way you won't miss out. Anyway, I'm going for a cup of tea because, well, to be quite frank, I think I've earned one. You, my brothers out there, you take care of yourself, because as I always say, if you don't take care of yourself, who will? And I'll talk to you soon. Bye now.